people or widowed people are actually also accounting to a high number of new infections. And he of course called upon the church to go back and speak to the family and of course try to find ways of keeping married people together. But also there is a deeper conversation to be had regarding the young women that are getting infected by older men. This is according to research that has been done by the Uganda AIDS Commission. Well, it is a heavy discussion and it is something heavy for us to think about. And as we do that, I will speak to the team. Good morning, Robert Chirabo.
Oh, I love your checked.
Thank you.
I love your checked. But you look very lovely in that. Not to say that the other lady on the team is, you know, I grew up with a lot of ladies around and I know what it means. So, Chantal, you look pretty this morning.
Oh, thank you, Chirabo. No, you don't have to worry about that. In this world we are in, it's good to always appreciate and give credit where it is due. So if someone is being credited and being appreciated, why should you feel bad now?
Okay. Let me also be another, because there's also agenda of late that is no longer the way it was previously. So, Uncle, you're very smart this morning.
Before he gets into his feelings, someone said that the shipment of men we have these days, God needs to do something.
So I have to be very
and
the men today are moody, some of them when they go to...
He just said moody.
Yes, they have mood swings.
It's like they have hormonal changes.
Yes, you don't understand. When they go to dress, you're telling someone you are going for a function. You know the men of those days, you enter the bathroom, you're out and you're gone.
Someone said that men of those days used to go to war, but the ones we have today...
Go to social media.
So what happens? You're like, excuse me. Even when you grow up, what is happening? Then when it comes out, you know, he's applying this, he's applying.
I can almost imagine how long Sonko takes to get ready because that's hair.
I'm not into the Russia-Ukraine war. I'm not an ally anywhere here. I just wanted to have peace and be sure I'm at peace with everybody. Good morning, viewer. Thank you so much for waking up with us this lovely morning. Now, all of you touched a very important thing. You know, 1st December is World AIDS Day.
Yes. Yep.
And Uganda has made tremendous steps in the fight against HIV. But I must say also, if we are not careful, we may be engaging a reverse gear. The good news is that now science has developed so many things that aim at prevention. That if someone feels they could be exposed, they know what to do in case they didn't have safe sex. There is also now the injectable that is coming. Yes. You have that for 2 months if you are injected. There's the vaginal ring for the women. So I think this issue of be faithful, please, my pastor, don't get me wrong. I'm a born-again Christian. But I want to be practical here. We've preached be faithful, abstinence, but it seems the level of immorality.
Yes.
Recently, we had a festival, and I was seeing young boys and girls on social media being asked, what should someone carry for this festival? You know that festival? And people were clear, don't forget condoms. You know?
Isn't that a good message, though?
It is a good message, but what am I trying to say? That thinking that people are going to be faithful and not engage in sex. We should move away from that.
It is like burying our heads in the sand.
We should face reality and now promote more measures aiming at protection and avoiding contracting the disease. That people know the various forms of science breakthroughs that have come. If you have the PEP, you know, you can have before, you can have after. You can have all these measures. You can have the condoms. This issue of deceiving ourselves, please married, be faithful, please young kids don't engage, please young daughters, the young daughters will go for these young men.
We actually know that marrieds, at one point, the prevalence of HIV infection was high among marrieds. which means they were not being faithful to their partners. So there is also a conversation to be had here when it comes to marriage staying safe and you know, embracing testing. I was having a conversation with someone a few weeks ago, and I was like, you know, married people should actually be testing every 3 months. And someone was like, how do you even tell your wife that we need to go and test? We are married, so does that mean someone is out there? But this is the only way you have
life
to
we are
keep
living.
Exactly, and most husbands keep safe through their wives. When she goes for antenatal and the results are okay, then he assumes he's also fine. But we know that there is something called discordant couples. Well, good morning, Jerome Paul Sonko.
Oh, good morning. How are you today?
I am great. How long did it take to get ready?
No, it doesn't take me that long. Maybe just saying, if I was a good, I would be taking quite some time in transit. But maybe that is the issue to do with
you are
coming
taking
here.
some time in transit.
But when it comes to preparing, I think I take some, you know, it's just around 5 to 10 minutes.
Okay.
5 to 10 minutes. That is after you're done showering and you're, you know, you're getting yourself ready to actually move out. So it's not that long, really. But besides that, I think.
Do you wear like 3 layers of perfume and
No.
the things
It's
Robert
only
was
jelly.
saying?
It's only jelly and a bit of deodorant. So it's just as normal as that. So as you're actually mentioning about, you know, the HIV kind of situation, it has actually put me in a, into thinking about the kind of women I should choose to crush on today. There are always these women who are, you know, we've always had of this conversation that consent is vocal.
Yes.
You know, not actions. Because if someone says no, it has to be a no. And people need to also understand that consent can as well change. For example, if someone accepted in the morning and then in the evening they are like no, it is still a no.
Yes.
So I want to crush on those women who have stood their ground in regards to knowing the status of the person they are yet to sleep with.
Yes.
Because there is always that time where men will come to you and say, you know what, I am safe. Trust me, I am safe. So there is no need for us to use protection.
Yes.
But obviously, there are those women or even those young girls who will actually tell you no. Until we go together or until you show me the exact results from a respectable, let's say, hospital, I'm likely not to believe you.
Yes.
It is not easy, trust me, but for all the young women out there and all the women who stand their ground, to me, I believe I will be crushing on you as well on such a day. Because as these numbers are actually increasing, when you also look at the fact that the condoms that have actually been disbursed have also dropped, according to a report, that the number of condoms that were disbursed this year are really have dropped compared to what was actually given out last year. The reason is because Ugandans are no longer using them as much, which means it takes us back to the fact that the doctors were saying Ugandans are now having HIV for fun. And it's not something that we should look at lightly. We need to be really, really concerned.
Yeah, that's true. We need to be very concerned. And like you, I'm also crushing on every woman out there that has taken their health very seriously and they insist on checking and knowing the status of their partner. We crush on you today because, like Sonko said, it's not really easy for you to take that stance and stand your ground. So if you're doing it, and for the ladies that are taking their medicine, their ARVs religiously, we also crush on you this morning. Good morning, Chantal Olive.
Good morning, Olive. You look very lovely this morning.
Thank you.
You know, when Cheryl was talking about how men take long to get prepared lately, my mind ran to times have changed. Men would not even wear deodorant back then, and you would pass by a man and you would wonder what happened. Pardon?
He got.
Says Robert. But yes, but now times have changed. I mean, smelling good is good manners. I just had to put it out like that. Plus, grooming is good, especially for men.
Yes.
It's not only for women. So please, grooming is good. So you're talking about using jelly, using the right cosmetics for your face and everything. And that's why probably they even go for skincare.
And salon.
Yes. Even Mani and Paddy, they go, they sit, and so please.
That is this side.
It's all grooming, and it's a good thing. And talking about the HIV situation, there is the symposium taking place at Millennium Park this week. There is it started yesterday, so even today and tomorrow. So if in case you would like to know what the scientists are doing, there is all these presentations that are happening, the poster presentations. Pass by and check it out and see how it's happening, and of course get to know what is being done and what can be done. I was hearing all these good things that are being introduced in our country. You ought to be there, because at the end of the day, we have to fight HIV together.
And we have a goal to end HIV/AIDS infection by 2030, and where we are standing is 90-90-90. We are in a position where Rwanda and Tanzania are above us, yet we used to be on top. But still, we are not doing bad. It needs collective responsibility between you and me and Chirabo and Olive and Jerome Paul and everyone else that you know. So attend this symposium. Well, with that being said, this is the moment where we give you the local news.
And we'll start with His Excellency Yoweri Kaguta Museveni returning from the United Arab Emirates. Now, the president yesterday evening landed on Ugandan soil after ending a 2-day working visit to the United Arab Emirates. At Entebbe International Airport, the president was received by the Vice President, Jessica Alupo, the Minister for Presidents, Miriba Balande, the Head of Public Service, Ms. Lucy Nachobe, the Chief of Defense Forces, General Wilson Mbasumbadi, the Police Director for Welfare, Production and Sports, AIGP Charles Wirungi, and the Deputy Commissioner General of Uganda Prison Services, Samuel Akena. While in the United Arab Emirates, President Museveni met and held discussions with the United Arab Emirates counterpart and the ruler of Abu Dhabi, His Highness Sheikh Mohammed bin Zayed Al Nahyan, at the Presidential Palace in Abu Dhabi. The president also met a group of investors from several companies in the United Arab Emirates.
And moving on, Parliament has passed the Petroleum Supply Amendment Bill 2023 amid some members of Parliament opposing it and others supporting it, saying it will save Ugandans from fuel cartels that arbitrarily influence fuel pricing. The bill will enable government to ensure steady supply of petroleum products and also diversify supply routes. This was after the Committee on Environment and Natural Resources presented to the whole House its report on the bill. In the report, the committee chairperson Emmanuel Otala recommended that in the long term, UNOC should explore opportunities of direct engagement with refineries, which will minimize costs and increase stability of petroleum product supply into the economy. Busiki County Member of Parliament Paul Akamba presented the minority report opposing the move to create a monopoly for UNOC, saying that it is unconstitutional and prohibits fair competition. Akamba adds that past experiences of monopolies like Umeme, the Enrico Agreement, the Iron Ore Agreement, among others, have cost the country money and set a terrible precedence for monopolies in the country.
And moving on, in effort to address the issue of street children on Kampala streets, Kampala Capital City Authority, along with other stakeholders, is reviewing the Child Protection Ordinance law that was launched in 2022. The law criminalizes activities such as loitering, begging, vending, and selling alcohol or drugs to children. Over 70% of street children in Kampala are from the Karamoja region. Kalisenyi Daniel, Deputy Director for Gender at KCCA, revealed that some MPs have been implicated in trafficking children to streets. The law has successfully rescued over 300 children, with the majority being females. Aikuru Beatrice from the Ministry of Gender, Labour and Social Development emphasized the need for public education about the law to ensure proper enforcement of various stakeholders who share the same responsibility. Beyond addressing street children, the law prohibits employing children as domestic servants and engaging in activities hindering their education. Offenders face imprisonment of 6 months and a fine of 40,000.
And moving on, women and girls continue to account for the highest number of new HIV infections, according to the annual Joint AIDS Review report by Uganda AIDS Commission. The report shows that the number of new infections is still high, especially among never married females, who contribute 35% of all HIV transmissions. The Uganda AIDS Commission has held this year's National HIV/AIDS Symposium on the theme My Responsibility Towards Ending AIDS by 2030. It is here that the annual Joint AIDS Review report for 2023 was presented, showing overall decline in HIV incidence and prevalence among adults aged 15 to 49 years. However, the report shows that young women and girls are still accounting for the highest number of HIV new infections that stand at 52,000. Stakeholders are now calling for targeted interventions that can protect women and girls from acquiring HIV/AIDS. The report also shows that there is persistent mother-to-child HIV transmission fueled by stigma and lack of disclosure. Inadequate financing for HIV response and tracking remains one of the major challenges that affect efforts in HIV prevention. Well, those details from that report are a bit damning, so we still have a lot of work to do as a country to end HIV infections by 2030. But right now, we delve into the international news.
Internationally, staff at Gaza City's Al-Shifa hospital have buried dozens of patients in a mass grave, hospital officials say, as thousands of Palestinians remain trapped in the facility surrounded by Israeli forces. There are bodies littered in the hospital complex and there is no longer electricity at the morgues. Al-Shifa hospital director Mohammed Abu told the AFP news agency yesterday, "We were forced to bury them in a mass grave." He said 179 bodies had been interred so far in the courtyard, and 7 bodies and 29 intensive care patients were among those who had died since fuel for the hospital's generator ran out on Saturday. Israeli forces have surrounded the Gaza Strip's largest hospital, which Israel says sits atop a complex of tunnels and a command center used by fighters from the armed wing of the Palestinian group Hamas, which governs Gaza. More than 11,300 Palestinians have been killed in Israeli attacks on Gaza since October 7th, and in Israel, the official death toll from Hamas's attacks stands at more than 1,200. Moving on, Colombian football star Luis Diaz has been reunited with his father, Luis Manuel Diaz, who was released by rebels after holding him hostage for 12 days. The Liverpool striker and his father cried as they hugged each other for the first time after the kidnapping ordeal. Luis Manuel Diaz's abduction was by the ELN Luis Manuel Diaz's abduction by the ELN caused outrage in Colombia and abroad. The ELN said it had kidnapped the 58-year-old and his wife for ransom. The group quickly released his wife as police closed in and led the amateur football coach into the nearby mountains at gunpoint. The ELN leader described the abduction of the popular coach as a mistake, but has insisted that kidnappings for ransom are not a breach of the ceasefire it signed earlier this year. The guerrilla group released Luis Manuel Diaz last Thursday to United Nations and Catholic Church officials. Also, a former doctor from Rwanda has gone to trial in France on charges of genocide and crimes against humanity. Sothen Munyemana was a 29-year-old gynecologist living in the south of Rwanda at the time of the 1994 genocide, in which 800,000 people were killed. He has lived in France for 29 years and is accused of organizing torture and killings. In 1995, a year after the Rwandan genocide, a complaint was filed against Mr. Munyemana in the city of Bordeaux. It took French prosecutors 28 years to bring the case to trial. The key to an office in a place called Tumba will strongly feature during his trial in Paris. Mr. Munyamana also admits he had the key, said people from the Tutsi population sought refuge in the office, with his defense lawyer arguing he worked to prevent the genocide, but prosecutors say he locked them inside in inhuman conditions before they were taken away to be killed. Now, speaking what is climate, the United Nations warned on Tuesday, November 14th, that the world was failing to get a grip on climate change, as an assessment of current climate pledges showed only minor progress on reducing emissions this decade. In a statement, the UN Intergovernmental Panel on Climate Change said the world was failing to act with sufficient urgency to curb greenhouse gas emissions. The UN found out that combined climate plans from nearly 200 countries would put the world in a path for 2030 carbon emissions just 2% below 2019 levels. This was far short of the 43% fall that the IPCC said was needed to limit warming at the Paris Deal target of 1.5 degrees Celsius since the pre-industrial era. That is it for climate news and also what is happening internationally.
Well, moving away from the local and the international news, we now delve into the press review of our newspapers this morning.
Under the front page of the New Vision this morning, 33 government entities phased out as 69 billion shillings needed to compensate affected staff. More of that is within the New Vision today. General Katumba recounts attack on his life. More of that report still with the New Vision. In the oil supply, why MPs okayed UNOC monopoly. Then also, why Chabazinga will wed outside Bugembe Cathedral. There is a report of that. There is also a pictorial at the front page of today's New Vision as Congolese asylum seekers continue to enter Uganda. Now, Kazi land buyers have also been revealed. That is with the New Vision today. Now, elsewhere, the Daily Monitor, government drafts law to scrap 25 agencies. And of course, this is going to be taking a legal mandate according to the Daily Monitor. Then too early to withdraw troops from Somalia, says the UPDF in a big interview. Then also, chaos after unverified lines are switched off. That is with the Daily Monitor today. Now in homes, is decorating homes for Christmas a fading culture? More of that in the Daily Monitor. Then flooded rivers kill 3 in central region as security has been beefed up at the DRC border. In the other news, still at the front page of the Daily Monitor, journalist arrested for sabotaging Chabazinga wedding as members of parliament approve bill on government oil monopoly. That is it for our local dailies this hour. Later on, we shall be looking at what is making headlines across the East African region, that is in Kenya and Tanzania.
Thank you, Jerome Paul, for that press review. And in the spirit of celebrating women, why not leave you with a song by a woman? That is Katie Nicole, and the song is Hold On. We'll be right back. But before we actually go off air for the moment, I would like to remind you again that Good Morning Uganda is soon unveiling something amazing. You want to be here to see it because it is going to spice up Good Morning Uganda as you know it. Of 35% of women and of course young girls are accounting to this number, 35% of unmarried females. But he also mentioned something and said that people that are formerly married, that is divorced people or widowed people, are actually also accounting to a high number of new infections. And he of course called upon the church to go back and speak to the family and of course try to find ways of keeping married people together. But also there is a deeper conversation to be had regarding the young women that are getting infected by older men. This is according to research that has been done by the Uganda AIDS Commission. Well, it is a heavy discussion and it is something heavy for us to think about. And as we do that, I will speak to the team. Good morning, Robert Chirabo.
Oh, I love your checked.
Thank you.
I love your checked. But you look very lovely in that. Not to say that the other lady on the team is, I grew up with a lot of ladies around and I know what it means. So
35% of women and of course young girls are accounting to this number, 35% of unmarried females. But he also mentioned something and said that people that are formerly married, that is divorced people or widowed people, are actually also accounting to a high number of new infections. And he of course called upon the church to go back and speak to the family and of course try to find ways of keeping married people together. But also there is a deeper conversation to be had regarding the young women that are getting infected by older men. This is according to research that has been done by the Uganda AIDS Commission. Well, it is a heavy discussion and it is something heavy for us to think about. And as we do that, I will speak to the team. Good morning, Robert Chirabo.
oh, I love your checked.
Thank you.
I love your checked. But you look very lovely in that. Not to say that the other lady on the team is, I grew up with a lot of ladies around and I know what it means. So 35% of women and of course young girls are accounting to this number, 35% of unmarried females. But he also mentioned something and said that people that are formerly married, that is divorced people or widowed people, are actually also accounting to a high number of new infections. And he of course called upon the church to go back and speak to the family and of course try to find ways of keeping married people together. But also there is a deeper conversation to be had regarding the young women that are getting infected by older men. This is according to research that has been done by the Uganda AIDS Commission. Well, it is a heavy discussion and it is something heavy for us to think about. And as we do that, I will speak to the team. Good morning, Robert Chirabo. oh, I love your checked.
Thank you.
I love your checked. But you look very lovely in that. Not to say that the other lady on the team is, I grew up with a lot of ladies around and I know what it means. So 35% of women and of course young girls are accounting to this number, 35% of unmarried females. But he also mentioned something and said that people that are formerly married, that is divorced people or widowed people, are actually also accounting to a high number of new infections. And he of course called upon the church to go back and speak to the family and of course try to find ways of keeping married people together. But also there is a deeper conversation to be had regarding the young women that are getting infected by older men. This is according
Foundation's 2023 Gala Dinner with the theme Feeding the Hungry and Deprived Children, happening on the 25th of November 2023 at Sheraton Hotel. Tickets are 100K for single and 1 million for a table. You can also come with things to donate like clothes, shoes, and others. For more info, please contact 0774 508202 or 0753 055437 or 0704 499543 and Momo Pay 198377.
Mukoke Fish Farmers Association tuli balunzi ba byananda ebyebika ebisatu omuli Miracap, tilapia oba engege ni catfish twete male. Group eno twatandika twali abantu basatu nga tulingirira obwetaavu obwebyenanda obw'obwiva eno okubona nti tufuna okasente akava mu maadi agali gatambula butambule nga gatubita ku wano ng'ekirabo. Twatandika ni fish pond ndala mu mwaka gw'e2018. Twebaza fisheries officer ni district ya Bugiri babanga batulagirira kusani fish farm ebwikwe ni side day ndeyo twabanga tusobola okufuna kwetusa ku bugege obwasooka era mu mwaka ogwali 2020 awo basobola okubanga batuwaayo ebyenanda emitwalo dali ena okuva mu operation werese creation era okuba yongereza ku emere yatuweebwa okuva Uganda Poultry Breeders. Twasobola okubanga tusoloza akasente akawerera obukayire nga 42. Twasobola okubanga tuinvestinga oba okubona nti twongereza ku bimu ku bintu bye tukola gano. Bebaza government yaife okubanga buli saawa efaayo okubanga eferi y'abana Uganda.
Welcome back. Thank you so much for keeping it Good Morning Uganda. And if you've just joined us, thank you again for being a part of Good Morning Uganda. Good Morning Uganda comes to you on UBC television every morning from 6:30 in the morning to 9 a.m. And in there, we share many insights, especially news, and of course, we have topical discussions. Now, today is a beautiful day, the 15th of November, 2023, and we are glad that you're alive and healthy and that you are in position to actually spend your morning with us and of course be a part of the conversations that we have here, and today not being any different. This morning we would like to speak matters politics, and of course we know that there has been an impasse between the government and the opposition members of Parliament. As we know, on 10th October, members of the opposition stormed out of Parliament saying that they had grievances regarding related to human rights abuses allegedly by the government. And since then, they have never returned to Parliament. Now, the Speaker of Parliament, Anita Annette Among, returned to Parliament yesterday after a brief maternity leave. She had twins. Congratulations once again. And when she returned, she said that if these members of Parliament miss 15 sittings, she will invoke the provisions of the Constitution that enable her to actually dismiss them from the House. And she continued to say that you cannot fight from outside, you can fight from within the House. But the leader of opposition in Parliament, Mathias Impuga, said they will not be threatened. So that is the impasse. It seems like the opposition still wants to stay back in Parliament. Now, yesterday, a few of them were there, like Dokolo, woman member of Parliament, that is Cecilia Ogwal, and a few others. But majority, especially from the National Unity Platform Party, were a no-show. Now, this brings us to the conversation we are having this morning. And I will start with Sonko. The Speaker said something, and I want to pick your brain on it. She says, you cannot fight from outside. You can fight from within. Now, we know that members of Parliament have done this boycott several times. Has it yielded any results in the past, and what is gonna be different this time?
Well, when you look at, when you get the quotation of what the Speaker was saying, it clearly shows you that it hasn't ripped as much. Because when the Speaker tells you you cannot fight from outside, it is better you come with your vocal battalion, because it's a vocal battalion in Parliament. Let's say a vocal, yeah, exactly, in Parliament. So when you're in Parliament, it's all about expressing your views, opinions, ideas, and representing your people. So, and when you look at what she did mention, because she actually has, she's, according to the Constitution, if they miss 15 consecutive sittings,
yes,
she can actually, you know, decide to completely, you know, dismiss them.
So
simply
does that
because
mean they lose their seats in Parliament?
this is according to what is actually coming in here. Simply because unless she has actually given you permission, and that is after you've written to her. Now, when we look into the kind of conversation we have today, you realize they stormed. If we are to go back to 10th of October, they stormed out of Parliament. And during that time, the Speaker was away on leave.
Yes.
It was the Deputy Speaker who was on ground.
Yes.
And also, we need to know that it is actually okay for them to boycott, because it does not give any provision for the Speaker to stop them if they want to, you know, storm out. Yes. But 15 consecutive, you know, sittings rather, and you're absent, then she has the right to say, you know what, we are done with you as a member of Parliament because you did not write, and I have not given you any permission. And by the look of things, so she's not willing to give them permission.
Also, does it look, sorry for interjecting, but does it look like absconding from work? Because if I work at UBC and I don't show up to work 15 days, no permission.
It clearly shows you're no longer interested.
Literally, because if you are interested in still working, you would sit maybe your boss down and let them know, listen, I'm not available for the next 2 weeks
for this
particular reason, and I'm requesting for
a leave.
I'm requesting to be excused.
Exactly.
Yes.
And when you look at the kind of you know, situation we are having in Parliament, and now it takes me back to the first question you did ask, or you did put across, that is it going to reap anything for the opposition? Well, from the public, it is going to create it has already created a debate amongst the voters.
Yes.
There are those who are sympathizing with the opposition, and there are those who feel the opposition is just politicking everything and trying to, you know, to treat Parliament as, let's say, a dramatic scene in a movie or something to play around with. But when you look at the situation, is the reason as why they boycotted is because
I
they
was
feel,
coming to
you know,
that. What are the
reason
reasons
as
for
why
their boycott?
they boycotted, by the way, the major reason was because of the continuous abduction
Alleged abduction.
My bad. Because of the alleged abduction of NUP supporters, mainly because NUP has the majority of the opposition members of parliament and other alleged human rights abuses. And so this is one of the reasons as to why they stood out and said, no, until government or the lead of government business comes out to defend government on these allegations that the opposition has. And of course, the speaker at the time, or the deputy speaker at the time, said they should be in-house as government works on, you know, coming out to clarify on these particular allegations. So them storming out, I want to believe it may not be the answer, or may not, may not be the answer to government's, responses. Simply because if we are to sit down and wait I think this was just a move to see how government is going to respond.
Well, according to the leader of opposition, Matthias Mpuga, he says that they will not be threatened or cowered into returning to parliament. And he goes on to say that the government is allegedly, deliberately ignoring their grievances and doing nothing about it. Do you think there is meat to this bone?
I have noticed over time that it gets hard to have such conversations, because one moment you're going to think the opposition is genuine until you get to find out, no, it's just politics.
By it's just politics, what do you mean?
I mean, we want to be seen. That kind of attitude, politicking everything, trying to literally stay relevant, because when they go back to their voters, the voters will ask them, did you fight for us? And according to, if you've noticed the trend, according to opposition, they seem to think and believe that Ugandans will ask them the question on grounds of the political bit, not the grounds of the economic bit, for example, or the social bit. You
not
get
on
it.
Grounds of policy.
No, not grounds of policy, not grounds of infrastructure development. They will be asking them, did you fight for us? And now they are concentrating on those small ways instead of broadening their fight. So there could be some meat to the bone, because there's no smoke without fire. But how big is that meat? That's the other question.
Well, they say that they need to be, to be called to the round table and have a discussion, because their claim is that if you do not hear us, if you do not give us the time of day, then how are you going to say that we have nothing to put across? So do we think that probably there should be room for conversation, open conversation between the members of parliament from the opposition and the government?
There's already room. That's why the speaker actually told them, you cannot fight from outside.
And you know, the speaker who is actually telling them that was once FDC.
Well, she's no longer.
What I'm trying to say right now is that she knows the inside and the outside. She's been on the opposing side. She's been on. Now she's on the inside. The inside. Okay, the ruling party side. You get it. So in this case, she knows better. Probably. She, having tested both worlds, she knows that if there has to be a fight for whatever reason you have, I mean, Olive, if I want to hit you right now, I cannot hit you when I'm standing outside the UBC gate. And she's right. When you just put it in layman's understanding, she's right. Just like they say, draw your enemies closer. That's the only way you're going to...
Keep your friends close,
but your enemies closer. So in this case, she's actually right. You want to fight. Are they going to hear you from outside? Maybe not. Who are you fighting for, or who are you fighting with? Because by the look of things, they seem to be fighting alone. It's more like how someone will throw stones at you and you're very unbothered. You don't even look there. And that's what's happening.
That's true, because from the look of things, government is carrying on business as usual, and Parliament's plenary is going on. They are back from a two-week break, but now they're back. Business is going on. And now that brings us to the next point of discussion, especially now people are asking, the electorate is, if the ruling party members of parliament are attending plenary and maybe some bills get passed without opposition to even bring in any sort of report or a private member's bill or something like that, how are you going to now come back and say we are challenging this bill when you were not in the house?
We actually had a bill passed yesterday. That is,
the eunuch.
Yes. So for the viewers, just to understand more so when it comes to what you've actually been putting across. But, you know, there is also a very huge concern about the same that you've actually mentioned, that me as a voter, I expect my member of parliament to represent my views. Now, for example, when you look at the kind of situation that we are in today, there is a lot of grievancy amongst most of the Ugandans. And so most of them feel before the members of parliament decide to go in there and boycott, they should as well also structure how they're going to be working in order to see that even the views of their voters are being represented at the same time, their the MPs' grievances. Because here, I'm not ruling out the fact that we have, voters that are in question here. For example, when you look at the allegations coming in from the leader of opposition, is that there are NUP supporters who are abducted, tortured, and have gone through all these kind of, attacks, or let's say suffering. So these allegations, according to the leader of opposition, until the government comes in, that is when they will go back to parliament. Now, again, my question goes back to what is going to happen if for the voters who are still outside and they're also still facing some issues that need to be presented, who is going to work on their issues? Because you do realize that at times, who's going to represent them and speak on their behalf. Now, this becomes a very big worry to the voters. Then you wonder if our members of parliament have considered that as well. Because
you raise a pertinent issue because, for instance, yes, there are members of the public that have allegedly been abducted or are missing. And there is something the head of the Uganda Human Rights Commission said last week when you were having a conversation with her, Chantal. And she said that NUP usually says that we have over, let's say, 100 people missing. And when they're asked to present the number, the names, the list of people that is missing, they, how many did she say they presented?
They presented 30.
She said they presented 30. So who is fooling who here? Or who is actually using the missing person list as a clutch to misbehave in parliament?
But also, think about it like this. So you mean to say that all the members of parliament on the opposition side, each of them has a member in their constituency that is missing or that had been abducted?
I don't think so, but probably they are working with solidarity.
I understand that part, but I also would like to see the part where the solidarity comes in. When you are fighting for every single constituency that you had, and we're seeing things change. We're seeing, are you going to storm out when roads are not done? Are you going to storm out when the prices of, say, fuel are increasing? Have you done that? Are you going to storm out when students are not sitting exams?
Because head teachers insist that they must finish
Thank
school
you.
fees.
Let's see some of those. Okay, if you want to fight, let's have leveled fights. Let's have fair fights where we see you fight for every single aspect, or at least 90% of the aspects that your constituents are actually grappling with. Short of that, your fight at some point as opposition seems to be falling on one side, and the fight, honestly, in my own opinion, as opposition, you shouldn't be fighting against individuals and political party. If you are going in there, present your case to your people and to parliament so that it earns you the moral authority to be in that parliament and speak. Short of that, we are having surface fights and conversations from our members of parliament. They are being ignored. Yes.
The leader of opposition also revealed, by the way, that there is also another issue that needs to be settled out with government. That however much they want to sit down with government to discuss the boycott, he further revealed that he has only, the time he has actually got with the speaker is they're only asking them about the list of the people they claim to have been arrested by
according to
authorities.
him, what does he say they want?
So according to him, they want to talk about, one, the reason as why they boycotted, why these cases are continuing, according to the opposition, and stretch a way forward. And they also want to talk about how they are handled in Parliament, because there are some of those who feel their views are not given a lot of attention simply because they belong to the opposition. So there's a lot of there's a lot to be discussed.
Unresolved issues.
Yeah, unresolved issues. And they do not want the opposition, rather the speaker, to center the focus on the list of the supporters.
But do they have the list? The 100 or more, do they have the list? Because this is what they have fronted.
They do
since
have the list.
2021, when we had elections, there has been mention of the list. So if the speaker says, give us the list, and you have the list, front the list, then let's move on. Don't you think that would be more viable?
No, it would be. More so if the list has... it is a static list, I should say, if that is the better word, where the numbers are not changing.
No, the numbers could change because more people keep claiming that more families.
Because of the continuous...
Exactly.
All right. But I think why they're actually looking at the fact that maybe why we have a list or we do not have a list as of now, or why it will definitely keep on changing, is because we are putting it as an allegation, but because of the endless reports that we have today. So they do not want the focus to be on only on the kidnapped. Because if it's only on the kidnapped, if you come and you only have a list of 15, then the chances are government may look at it as
so they want it to be on what? The kidnapped and the allegedly tortured?
The tortured, yes. And of course, when you look at how some of the opposition members believe, they're actually being treated, which is unfairly to most of them. So they believe it is also better to front all of these grievances to the speaker, and then the government or the leader of government business should come out and clear out everything or make different changes.
But then again,
Chantal, hold that thought. I would like to invite you into this hot conversation, and would like for you to share your views regarding the extended boycott or continuous boycott of plenary sessions by opposition members of Parliament. You can share your views on WhatsApp number 0709 602 592. That is 0709 602 592. And we are asking you again to share your views regarding the extended, the impact of the continuous boycott of plenary sessions by opposition members of Parliament. You can also share your views on our X app, and the hashtag is UBCGMU. Chantal, you had something to say?
Yes, I do remember very well, especially at the beginning when this boycott started. The Deputy Speaker, that is the Right Honourable, came out and said, Thomas Tewa said, that these opposition members of Parliament did not wait for a report to come out. Instead of storming out, meanwhile, they stormed out unprecedented, meaning they had not presented anything in the first place that would enable conversation to take place. So what does that mean? It seems to show that they don't seem to want to resolve things internally. They want to resolve things out in broad daylight, inclusive of us, the public. But if you are trying to organize your house, if you're trying to put things in place, I don't think that is an approach that is sustainable. So I believe this is the time we need to revisit, going back to having the conversation. I would like to know, I would like to hear if these conversations, if these issues have actually been presented before the Speaker of Parliament.
No, with the issue to do with the boycott also is because of the fact that the reason as why they resorted to boycotting or storming out, it was a non-violent, violent way. Because why I'm saying non-violent,
I like
but
the
violent
paradox.
Simply because you do not want to be violent, but you want to be violent in a peaceful manner.
I understand.
So you don't want to go on the roads to create chaos.
Because that will be another issue.
Yes. So what they decided was, let's boycott. Then maybe that will be a huge concern because once the Speaker comes into Parliament and realizes there is a section that isn't filled up, then it will actually grab her or the Deputy Speaker's attention. So first was, you know, the opposition wanting to get that attention from government, because they do believe as well that once they get that attention from government, then government will definitely call in for a dialogue. So once government calls in for a dialogue, we come together, round table discussion, we talk about issues here and there so that government also gives them answers. Because their boycott is highly you know, motivated by the fact that they believe that ever since you know, Parliament kicked off 2021, government is yet to address most of their issues, the more peaceful they've become. So that is why they chose this as the, you know, the more or the less violent way of doing things.
So according to the order paper, the government was supposed to actually present its response as far as the grievances and allegations by the opposition are concerned. It was scheduled for November 19th, but the Speaker has ruled yesterday that it should be presented on 21st. And but before we get to that, because now that is in the future, we will wait for 21st to know what the government is going to provide as a response. But in the meantime, do we know if government has reacted in any way, done something to, you know, maybe ensure that these members of parliament go back to the House?
The little much I know, especially from the IGG's office, the report especially on the report on the abductions that had been cited, a list was requested, and they were saying thousands of the NUP supporters had been abducted and all that. But the list that was provided was having 30 people. And the explanation we got from the IGG's office was investigations are underway. And the unfortunate bit is some of the core people that are given a lot of attention are actually not forthcoming. When you try to do investigations, you hit a wall because some of their relatives are not even willing to talk. They're not willing to cooperate, to assist. Now that's the part. That's the part that even the IG's office could not figure out. Because if you are saying that my person is lost, my husband is lost, you should be moving on like a headless chicken, trying to find your man.
Well, there are different ways to look at it. Could they be possibly afraid of what probably might come to them in their thinking if they are too open about the issue?
But then it's already in the hands of someone who you think is supposed to be helping you find solutions. Do you think
there could be probably a lack of trust? Because if their allegation is that their people have been abducted by, let's say, the government, should they still run to the same people they suspect for help?
You know,
and those double standards.
You know, it goes both ways. It goes both ways. And the fact that it becomes very difficult, like Chantal has mentioned, for evidence to prevail. Because if you are filing in a report, and obviously you have to come with evidence that shows or that backs your allegations. Now, if there isn't enough evidence, then it continues to remain as an allegation. So again, you know, like you said, at times you don't know what someone is thinking. Someone may be worried or scared about the unthinkable at the moment, and you don't know whether if I come out and say this and this happened, who is going to give me that attention, that attention, or who are they going to work on my issue and the like. So that is why some of them either decide to just keep silent, or maybe others just keep also having them as allegations, which is also, that is why I said it goes both ways. It may be due to some insecurity matters on a personal level, or there is also that issue of, let's say, let me just keep them as allegations for now.
You know, there are allegations until evidence has been provided and there has been a ruling in court that now makes the matter a real issue where there is even a charge. So, because we know, even according to our constitution, someone is innocent until proven guilty. Anyway, would still like for you to join this conversation and share your opinion on the impact of the continuous boycott of plenary sessions by opposition members of parliament. Would like to hear from you. Your suggestions, your questions, and your opinions so that we see how we can move forward. Maybe there is a member of parliament from the opposition that is watching and may pick a leaf. And also probably there is someone from government that is paying attention and your suggestion could change a few things here and there. That's why we are here and would like to have this conversation with you, our viewers. I have a few views coming through and I would like to share some of those. The first one is from Cricket Derek Gagamel from Makindye Ruafu, and he says, good morning, presenters. Opposition of Uganda is just a joke. Nobody sensible can ever take them seriously because they always play politics even where it is not applicable. Now, they lean on abduction. But the question is, for the many times they have been boycotting, has it been impactful? Pertinent question right there. If no, then the option is to look for another serious and smart alternative than repeating the same weak one. We now see this as drama, yet we expect them to act like real elites. It is high time for the opposition to stop politicking on every matter, because even where it's necessary, we may fail to take them seriously as we are used to them being unserious. Thank you, Cricket Derek.
You know, Derek has a pertinent concern there when he mentions that every time they are politicking, you know, the issue, at times we will not take them too serious because we are used. So when you look at the kind of situation where Ugandans are, and this is something I did mention at the start, that it has actually sparked up a public debate whereby some Ugandans are siding with the opposition, then there are those who are neutral for the matter, and then there are also those who feel it is more of the opposition trying to grab our attention onto something.
Well, someone here says that we need to be realistic, and he seems to think that probably some people are just trying to make the opposition look bad because no one joins a party with the hope that they will be abducted. So what he's trying to say here is that there is some meat to their bone that should not be ignored.
Yeah. No, we're not actually ignoring the fact.
We say there could be meat, but we don't know how big the meat is.
You know, because if he's saying that we are trying to ignore the fact that they are coming in through, I think it is rather putting it in a way that maybe we are supporting, disregarding, you know, what the opposition is actually putting across. But of course, when you come out with this kind of, you know, situation that we are in today, you'll come to realize that you have to listen to both sides of the coin. Where is the government, and why does the government delay the dialogue? Why is it so? Then opposition, if the dialogue is given, what are you tabling? All of this is
and actually that brings something else that the leader of opposition said. You see, the role of journalists is to be watchdogs and report fairly, be balanced, not take sides. So when he said that the media should join us in criticizing government, you're asking the media to take sides.
Right.
Yet we need to be in the middle and look at things from a middle perspective without taking sides. And of course, if opposition wants a voice, then they will have the voice. But the problem is that in most cases they want to, there is something you said last week of, okay, you want to be against something, but within reason. Don't start being abusive.
Right.
Because when you're abusive, even the other things you wanted to present,
they will cease to make sense.
Exactly.
Because you've already given us a different direction of how
you've biased us on the picture we could have.
All right. Lawrence says, I think the speaker's comments are rooted in the following context: governance level, separation of powers between the executive and parliament, parliament role of oversight be used to maximum effect instead of weakening it by walking out. So he basically is meaning if members of parliament storm out of plenary sessions and even deliberately refuse to come back to plenary, they are weakening the position of parliament. Actually, now some people think, I've seen comments on social media where people think that parliament is now
Can't
a
be
joke.
taken serious, yes.
And he says, He says risk of going absent without leave, which will not be helpful. He also adds tactically best to leverage the collective power of Parliament while inside. So he adds to the Speaker's voice saying you cannot fight from outside. You need to be within the boundaries, within the plenary, within the House, to make your views be heard. And this one says, as opposition goes on with the boycott, they should know that there is a lot going on in Parliament, which they may not change when they plan to return. We mentioned this earlier. And James Odongo from Lira City says, seeing that the continuous boycotting of the opposition members of Parliament will make our lawmakers fail to represent our needs in Parliament. And Ronald from Rushere says, to discuss this conversation of boycott, opposition members are harassed by the Speaker and fellow NRM members. Take an example of Honorable Zake. Right now, Honorable Zake's case is actually before the Rules Committee. It is being heard. He has his lawyers being represented, and we will know what will come out of that. And Odia from Entebbe says, good morning. Nothing is wrong with boycotting by opposition because even the abducted people, they are Ugandans. It's an eye-opener to the government. And Deus Tumwizere, a student at Makerere University, says, regarding the continued boycott of the plenary sessions by the opposition, I fully believe that this matter should be given due consideration, the same way they table debates about other matters of national importance, so that the public gets to know whether it holds valid, it's valid, because as the electorate, we are not happy seeing our representatives involving politics in every issue that rises up. And also, some legislators are looking for cheap popularity. Ideally, a genuine action should be put forward by the office of the Speaker. And Obed from Kakoba Mbara says, this is not political drama. If someone continues to ignore your concerns, it's better to stop raising them or even appearing. I think for the opposition they do not see the reason to be in plenary. Let it continue until the other government bodies take concern, including the Human Rights Commission. And this one says opposition members should come back because sessions without them are dull. Interesting take over there. And Taligola Mbarak says the issue of opposition boycotting Parliament would have an impact if there was respect for the opinion host from the incumbent government. And Matovu from Wabigalo says the biggest communication problem is we do not understand. We listen to reply. However, it is necessary to tolerate with humankind in our country. Anyhow, security organs should be thinking about this. I'm not sure I understand what he meant. But Austin Harris Ben says some of the opposition people were unqualified, and that makes their reasoning. Hey, can we steer clear of name calling and abusive language? If your comment is abusive, I'm not going to read it. Well, as we close, let's have some parting remarks from Jerome Paul.
Yes, mine is everyone is entitled to their opinion on matters to do with the politics, and that's why we do have the freedom of, the freedom of speech in the country, the freedom of expression, and that's why you see members of Parliament, those that belong to the opposition, express themselves that way of boycotting. Now, the other issue is I pretty much feel we need to have this dialogue. I need to hear what the opposition has to say and what the government has decided. Because once this dialogue is put in place, because that is what the opposition wants currently. They need a dialogue to air out their grievances and to air out the grievances of their voters as well. So once that is done, we need to as well see what next after that. That will give us a clear picture of whether the government has listened to the opposition and whether the opposition also has something else to offer after this politicking. Yes.
Well, Chantal, would like to hear from you, your last remarks.
My last remarks would go to both the opposition and the rest of the government to say that at the end of the day, our parliament seems to be misused, for lack of a better way to put it. We shouldn't even be privy to some of these fights as Ugandans. Let's have these things sorted out, because listen, the common goal is to serve Ugandans better, if I'm not mistaken. So if that is our common goal, we should be working together to be able to achieve that. It ceases to be about individuals and political parties. It goes back down to the 47 million Ugandans who have expectations of representation, improved service delivery, and name all the other expectations that Ugandans have. Short of that, we are going to keep seeing the same things happening, one parliament after another, which does not serve us as Ugandans.
And as we are heading into the 2026 general elections, all this back and forth paints a rather dull picture, or not exciting or encouraging picture when it comes to the politics of our country. So we need to put our affairs in order, both government and the opposition, so that we can now move forward. Because the role here, the main target is to serve Ugandans. And right now, different constituencies are not being represented. Probably they have no infrastructure. Probably hospitals don't have power or anything, and their members of parliament are out of the house. But we need to have this conversation. Both sides needs to come to the table, because Ugandans are being affected. Well, this is Good Morning Uganda. We are still giving you more. We are coming back with the Good Morning Uganda business, and of course the traffic updates. And later on, Chirawa Robert Nyonyintono will come with the Good Morning Uganda agenda, and Ruben will be giving us the traffic updates. Also, I would love for you to keep it Good Morning Uganda, because we are unveiling something that is going to spice up Good Morning Uganda from what you know it as to something amazing.
Of the day on UBC.
Every Wednesday, 10 p.m. on your public broadcaster.
Was brought to you by
MTN Momo Pay is the easy way to pay. Dial *165*3# or use the MTN Momo app. You don't need cash. MTN Momo Pay is safe and free.
Foundation's 2023 Gala Dinner with the theme Feeding the Hungry and Deprived Children, happening on the 25th of November 2023 at Sheraton Hotel. Tickets are 100K for single and 1 million for a table. You can also come with things to donate like clothes, shoes, and others. For more info, please contact 0774 508202 or 0753 055437 or 0704 499543 and Momo Pay 198377.
All right, good morning again, and many thanks for sticking around to Good Morning Uganda this fruitful Wednesday morning. And of course, before we get into our GMU business update of the day, I am to remind you that we have something coming up for you that is definitely here to make sure that you stay informed, you stay entertained, and of course you keep up to speed with what is happening in the world. And of course you can only get that by tuning into UBC Good Morning Uganda. So kickstart your day with us, and trust me, no sooner the better. All right, now as we're getting into GMU business update, we start off with a renowned pharmacologist, turned innovator and proprietor of Professor Bioresearch, that is Professor Julius Nyanzi, has opened a way for Ugandans to enter into the world of business. Professor Nyanzi says he only needs government policy to overturn poverty, as continuous reports claim that Ugandans are getting into dire state of poverty. Now, he was speaking ahead of the 8th grade Sundowner due November 26. Innovation driven by the private sector is the word that will change the lives of Ugandans, according to Professor. Recently, Professor Bio Research, based in Masanafu, that is in Rubaga Division, won the Best East Africa Brand 2023 award. That is the platinum winner for the financial year 2023-2024. This proprietor, Professor Julius Nyanzi, says this is the driving force to engage the unemployed youth and other business proprietors into business that will turn around their lives. So far, he has trained over 700,000 in entrepreneurship and value addition. He also trains in various aspects that enable every low-income earner start an enterprise to which they can earn a huge living and also set up an enterprise for generation. Now let's turn our eyes on the Chief Executive Officer of the Diamond Trust Bank, Vangiz Thambi, who said the digitization challenges in banking institutions can only be mitigated by the vigilance, also by the vigilance of customers, as the bank is also doing their part. He says that digitalization enables bank customers enjoy a wide range of banking services, including tapping into convenience, instant delivery, and of course, although there are security concerns, but you get to realize that with digital banking, it is very easy for you to access money from wherever you are once you have internet access with you. Now, Vangiz was unveiling the expansion of the Diamond Trust Bank in Jinja, with their Jinja branch in Jinja City. According to the DTB chief, he actually says that following bank customers enjoying a wide range of services, this is one of the reasons as to why most of the banks decided to get into digitalization or digitization of banking, simply because the world and the economy globally is also turning digital. So you have to keep up to speed with the same. But of course, he also emphasized the fact that bankers or customers, the banking clients, should as well play their part in ensuring that they pay keen attention to, one, the safety of their money, that is while using the digital apps to access their banking services, that is making sure that you safeguard your PIN, your passwords, and the like, because it is your money and it's your rules. Now lastly, from our business, the Commissioner of Crop Production at the Ministry of Agriculture and Animal Industry and Fisheries, that is Alex Rakuba, has said that the government is yet to review the organic policy, which is to boost organic farming in the country. This was during the Farmer Family Learning Group engagement, which was organized by the organic farmers in Kampala. Uganda has the second largest number of organic producers in the world, which calls for support for government to increase its productivity. This is where the farmers come in and seek for more government intervention, because they believe with the government support, this will be increasing the organic production. And who knows, from second we can take it up to first place. And now lastly, from our business update this morning, we look at the forex market to check out how the different currencies were trading by close of business Tuesday evening, and of which we start off with the US dollar. Now the US dollar by opening time was buying at 3,767.13 while selling at 3,777.13. And by midday, a few changes and a few declines. 3,766.96 was if you're buying. Then selling was at 3,776.96 shillings. Then closing time buying was at 3,767.21 while selling was at 3,777.21. Then the euro was buying at 4,029.03 while selling at 4,039.75. The Great Britain pound was buying at 4,622.37 while selling at 4,634.64. The Kenyan shilling, on the other hand, was buying at 24.82 shillings while selling at 24.88 shillings. The Tanzanian shilling was buying at 1.50 shillings while selling at 1.51 shillings. Well, the South African rand was buying at 201 shillings while selling at 201.53 Ugandan shillings. Well, that's it for our business update this morning. Let's get into the press review. First, we revisit our local dailies in Uganda with the front page of the Daily Monitor and the New Vision before we check out what is making headlines in Kenya and Tanzania. Of course, we now kick it off with the New Vision here in Uganda. As according to the New Vision, 69 billion shillings needed to compensate affected staff. 33 government entities are being phased out. General Katumba Wabala recounts attack on his life. Also, oil supply, why members of parliament okayed the eunuch monopoly. Also, on the royal wedding issue, why Chabazinga will wed outside Bugembe Cathedral, as Kazi land buyers have been revealed. The Congolese asylum seekers enter Uganda, a pictorial of some of the assailants trailing through the waters to get into Uganda. That is in western Uganda. The Daily Monitor at the front page highlights government drafts law to scrap 25 agencies. Then too early to withdraw troops from Somalia, the UPDF says. Security beefed up at the DRC border as refugees or asylum seekers continue to get into the country. Then also chaos after unverified lines are switched off. Then Homes is decorating homes for Christmas, a fading culture. Read more about that in the Daily Monitor. Then flooded rivers kill 3 in central region. As also at the front page of the Daily Monitor in the other news, journalists arrested for sabotaging Chabazinga wedding as members of parliament approve bill on government oil monopoly. Off to Kenya now, as the Daily Nation highlights, face behind the 17 billion fuel, the 17 billion Kenyan shillings fuel saga, and import and export enterprises also deals in curios as well as handcrafts. Then also Kindiki now revises fees for IDs and passports as regional power play ahead of UDA polls. Then scandal, Kenya paid 2 billion Kenyan shillings for loans it didn't get, says Nyankango. Now for Bodalangi families, floods will never ebb. Then it wasn't me, Mokaman blames Jubilee for leaking roofs at the Jomo Kenyatta International Airport. Lastly, with our press review, the Citizen in Tanzania, desire, don't be afraid of not taking a well-trodden path. Then there is a list of Tanzania's top techpreneurs in the Citizen today. Youth farming scheme set for $100 million boost as South Sudan clears East African community areas ahead of summit. There's also a report why 10% of animal species in Tanzania face extinction, as $82 million the World Bank support for statistics master plan. That is the Citizen in Tanzania, revealing that at the front pages. So that's it for our press review as well. It is now time for the traffic updates with Olive Monica Najuma.
That's right. Good morning. And again, we thank you for keeping it. Good morning, Uganda and Uganda Broadcasting Corporation. Now, if you are coming from the areas of Bombo Road, that is around the areas of Kagoma, Maganjo, Kawempe, Bwaise, this is where we are taking you this morning, or this is where we are looking at this morning. If you're headed there, or if you are actually coming from there to town. Let us look at that route and see how best you can maneuver this morning. But even before we start, I can see that there are different sections of red zones on this route, indicative of a traffic jam that has already built up. I'm hoping that as we go along, we will find green zones which indicate smooth flow of traffic. So let's jump right into it and look at Kagoma. And from what I can see here, there is a traffic jam in the areas of Kagoma, and it is in different sections. Actually, where it lets up a bit there, I see orange zones which indicate that traffic has let up a bit, but it is still there, so you cannot really drive very fast on the road. And moving on, still within the area of Kagoma, we can see that the traffic continues up until you reach the areas of Maganjo. Now, the good news is if you're going to Maganjo, then the traffic around this area has actually let up, so you can drive a little bit fast. But we don't mean fast in the way that will endanger other road users. Now, still continuing on the same route, we are now in after Maganjo, because it was all smooth in Maganjo. Now we are in the areas of Kawempe. Now, looking at the feeder roads that come in and join the main Kawempe road, or what you would call the main Kampala Gulu highway, around Kawempe Kutano, you're going to find intense traffic from where the Equity Bank branch is going ahead. For those coming to the side of town, there is intense traffic in this section, but also there is traffic coming through on this feeder road from Kawempe Lugoba, right at the intersection. Now, still continuing, looking still at Kawempe, we are seeing Kawempe Chula also bringing in traffic into the main road over there. If you can see, there is traffic coming in from Kawempe Lugoba, and of course feeding into the main Kampala Masindi highway, and of course there is traffic coming in from Tula Road. You see that red zone coming in from Tula for quite some extensive time. It shows that there is traffic there, and also for people that are leaving Kawempe, taking that intersection of Tula Road, there is still a traffic jam that has caught up over there. Now, coming back to the main road, you will see that still after this intersection, you're going to still encounter traffic jam. That is coming to the areas of maybe Waise, or going to Apollo Kagwa Road, or heading into town. But the good news for those that are going the other side, there is smooth flow of traffic if you're heading to the side of Kawempe, Maganjo, Kagoma. Now, continuing ahead, after the traffic in the middle of Kawempe town, there is now smooth flow of traffic as you continue along. Now, we are starting to encounter traffic here as we are approaching the area of Bwaise. Now, there is a bit of traffic, but not worrying, you won't spend so much time in that section. But moving up ahead, as we are continuing to the areas of Waise, there is still a section where you're going to encounter traffic jam, but it might cost you maybe 10 minutes. And as you move ahead, you will find that there is smooth flow of traffic. You can see those green zones on both ends of the road, indicating that you are free to move. Now, continuing still ahead, I see that it is largely green zones this morning, which is rather good news, because this route can mean to have intense traffic jam. Now, moving ahead, I see the green zones turning orange, meaning that traffic jam is starting to catch up with the road users. And as we continue ahead, we realize that traffic, at least for the people coming to Kampala, has now, the zones have now become red, indicating that traffic jam has actually now caught up as you approach the roundabout, the bypass roundabout roundabout in Bwaise. Now, around this intersection where you get the Naweru Road and crossing through Gulu Kampala Highway, you will realize that, yeah, here the traffic is intense coming in from Naweru and, of course, coming in from Kawempe, feeding into here at Bwaise. The red zone around here before the roundabout is quite deep, meaning that many people that are going the other side of town are now approaching the roundabout, and this is causing some intense traffic jam. Now, as you can see over there, that is the traffic, that is the roundabout in Kawempe, and as you can see, there are red zones over there. So if you're heading to the sides of Sir Apollo Kagwa Road, even after the roundabout, you're going to first encounter traffic jam for a bit of time. But the good news is that when you move along Sir Apollo Kagwa Road, then it becomes a smooth. There is smooth flow of traffic in this area as you move along. Now, if you're going to the areas of Nankulabye, you're going to encounter smooth flow of traffic. If you're continuing with Sir Apollo Kagwa, there is a bit of traffic up ahead, and if you're going to the ends of Makerere and Wandegea, there is a smooth flow of traffic, as you can see there. So I hope this helps. I hope it enables you to negotiate your routes as carefully as possible. And if you have feeder roads that in your area and you know that they do not get intense traffic jam, you could consider using those to avoid traffic jam this morning. Otherwise, I wish you a beautiful day on the road, and as you drive, you need to keep in mind that other road users depend on you to protect them as you protect yourself. Good morning.
Pick of the day on UBC.
Every Wednesday, 10 p.m. on your public broadcaster.
Was brought to you by
MTN Momo Pay is the easy way to pay. Dial star 165 star 3 hash or use the MTN Momo app. You don't need cash. MTN Momo Pay is safe and free.
Bule Foundation's 2023 Gala Dinner with the theme Feeding the Hungry and Deprived Children, happening on the 25th of November 2023 at Sheraton Hotel. Tickets are 100K for single and 1 million for a table. You can also come with things to donate like clothes, shoes, and others. For more info, please contact 0774 508202 or 0753 05 5437 or 0704 499543 and Momo Pay 198377.
A new dawn on Behind the Headlines with me, Timothy Nyangweso. Every Wednesday, live in our studios in the heart of Kampala. We have conversations that have analysis, explanation, but not every truth is fact, and not every fact is truth. Every Wednesday, 10 p.m. on your public broadcaster.
All on your public broadcaster. UBC, inspiring Uganda.
Amaina ndina abiri Jennifer okuva mwero si ekigusa ekyaganibwa muterere town council we bwatuuka nga ndi kunika business kange kano nalinako nga amaani matono ino aye nawuliriza nkoze magezi ki ka business kange kano okweyongeramu abaye mulango ogwaida gwa gavumenti nti eriyo emyoga gyamba abantu kusitula mu buli muntu mbeera y'abataalimu najaayo kirungi nali leader najira mu group y'aba leaders nafunayo obusente naida nayongera mu ka business kange kano era nigano mukaganire nga nikano bwe kali kati tiyambisa bubi yambisa bulungi nga bwe muli kugibona sente jona difuniye mu ngabo ndi kubakobera danga sisa mu kuba business yange bwe yali kibweri yeyongeiremu sente dino danga sa kale nze basebo mbebaza ba programu ye mwatuletamu nebaza nti kabiri banange we buli awo kyongero nga muli kumbona nka ayenda bwende wale nali wansi ayi kabiri butindize kuko waigulu.
Live from UBC Studios in Kampala, this is Good Morning Uganda.
A lovely morning to you. Thank you so much for keeping it on UBC TV this lovely Wednesday morning. I know it's raining in some parts, at least I'm very sure that in the 5 divisions of Kampala it is raining. And one interesting thing about Uganda rain, you can leave one division of Kampala when it's raining cats and dogs and you give rainfall as an excuse. Then when you come to the other division, you're coming from Machindi heading to Nakawa, and you find that in Nakawa it either stopped raining hours ago or it's fairly dry, and rainfall is not an excuse. But generally speaking, we are in our final rainy season. Thank you that against all odds you're with us on UBC TV. I'm Robert Chirabo Nyonyintono. Welcome to Good Morning Uganda Agenda. Now, I just can't forget to remind you that there's something we shall soon be unpackaging for you on Good Morning Uganda. Please keep it with us so that you do not miss when we bring yet another product to you, and I guarantee you this is something you may really enjoy. I don't want to open so much about it, but just be sure, and of course Najuma will keep on reminding you every now and then of what you expect, not forgetting also Sonko does a good job in that area. Now, today we want to discuss something very important. Fellow Ugandans, we all know that at one time, each of us that is in formal employment will reach a time to retire. It may not be that you've been forced to retire, but age catches up with you. or health challenges or anything. And don't forget that now Ugandans' life expense has gone high. We now live longer than we used to live. Usually my president, Yoweri Kaguta Museveni, enjoys talking about in 1986, when we came into power, this is what it was. Now, if you look for an average life expectancy of a Ugandan by 1986 and today a Ugandan on average lives to 63 years. That means you've now entered that age if you're a public servant where you retired. Now, I want to bring to your knowledge, in case you didn't know, we have the Uganda Retirement Benefits Regulatory Authority. What do they do? What is it all about? How can it be of help to you? Who is a member? Know your rights. Know what they do. Well, join me welcome my guest this morning, who is Benjamin Muchibi, Chief Manager, Research and Strategy at the Uganda Retirement Benefits Regulatory Authority. You're most welcome.
Thank you, and good morning, viewers.
To begin with, Benjamin, when we talk about Uganda Retirement Benefits Regulatory Authority, first let my viewer know, what is this all about? Is it a government body? Was it established by an act of parliament? We need to know more.
Yes. Well, the Uganda Retirement Benefits Regulatory Authority, commonly referred to as UBRA, is a government agency that is mandated to regulate and supervise the establishment, management and operation of retirement benefit schemes, and all those persons, both legal persons and those entities that are engaged in transactioning. For instance, if you have a scheme that is licensed by UBRA, all those that engage, the service providers, are the ones that we look at, we license, we supervise to ensure that we maintain the prudential standards that you need to protect members' benefits. Ultimately, we want to make sure that members' benefits are protected, and that's why we exist and were created by the Act of Parliament in 2012.
Now, give us a broad view of current retirement. Who is regulated, who benefits, who stands not to benefit, an overview of the sector.
Yes, currently we have about 65 retirement benefit schemes.
Quite many.
Yes, including NSSF. And because of our history, most of the membership is public service or entities, people who are working in the formal sector. So currently we have about 3 million member accounts. By member accounts, I mean people who have enrolled to participate. So the coverage is low, but the 65 licensed schemes are having that membership. But along that, we have service providers like custodians, those are banks. We also have service providers and fund managers. So in the ecosystem, we have a number of players. And right now we are looking at how best we can get more Ugandans to start saving for retirement. Yeah.
Now this brings me also to understand we are not at 70%. I mean, we are not at 100% of Ugandans saving for their retirement. Why are we having such a situation? Yet UBRA exists.
Yes. As I mentioned earlier, UBRA is meant to supervise the operations. But as you may be aware, we have a huge informal sector. And the history we have and the frameworks that we've had over time have been facilitative of people who are in the formal sector. So people working at UBC, at MTN, at UBRA, in these corporate entities. So people who are self-employed, what you would call non-standard work, where you don't get a monthly salary, are excluded. And that's one of the main reasons why many are excluded. It is true that we've not covered all in the formal sector, but the biggest percentage of our labor force is in the informal sector, and that's primarily why many Ugandans do not have an arrangement that is responsive to their employment characteristics. So we are working to see that we change that setup to make sure that we include everybody else that is in our workforce that is transacting and can make some savings for retirement.
Now, Benjamin, there's something, yes, we know we need to have people on various retirement benefits program. But there's something also that really disturbs my mind. I want to bring in NSSF now here.
Yeah.
I've done some research, and you find that 80% of people saving with NSSF, and I want to believe also with other retirement schemes, retire, and 80% of these savers have less than 10 million as balance. Now, you're talking about retirement. 80%, these are statistics. People can check. You have less than 10 million. That is what you've accrued all the time. You've been working. Of what meaning is this? And you as the regulator and overseer, how best can we improve this? Because then to me, it ceases to be retirement. If I retired and I have less than 10 million on my account, for heaven's sake, what am I taking home?
Yes, yes, we appreciate the challenge as a country. Those who are saving are not saving enough. And it's largely because the issue of old age security is not well perceived by many Ugandans, but also the setup we have in terms of the labor markets. People go in and out of employment, and our system is such that at the moment, when you are employed, that's when you make contributions. So if you work for, say, 20 years and you only contribute for 5 with the NSSF, because people contribute for 1 year, then they go down, they go out of employment, that warrants them to make that contribution. So you're right, the activity rates are low. It's about 35% of people who are actively contributing to the NSSF. The other accounts are there, but members are not making those contributions. So what is it that we can do, or what is it that we must do as a country and also as citizens? So at UBRA, we are really looking at making sure that you don't only save just because you have to with the NSSF. We are suggesting that wherever you are, whoever is transacting, if you have an income, we must make nominal contributions to a retirement fund. So the activity rates must go up. We also appreciate that the nominal wages also, because the factor for making contributions is about how much you earn at the end of the month, and also the frequency of the contribution. So on the side of frequency, we want to make sure that people continue to save even when they change jobs, and you can either contribute voluntarily or you contribute to the mandatory scheme. Thankfully, the amendments to the NSSF have allowed all employers to contribute. So the eligibility scope has been widened. So even when you have one worker, you must make that contribution. And now we must make sure that we sensitize everybody to make sure that you must keep the momentum. If you are 20 years, maintain the momentum for the next 30 years to ensure that you have adequate savings in your retirement. So it's a big challenge. We are looking at how best to address it. Another issue that we are looking at is to make sure that even when we make nominal savings, we want to make sure that those nominal savings are invested such that the yield is good. So we want to ensure that whoever is engaged in this business, be it NSSF and all the other 64 retirement benefit schemes, must be very efficient in doing business to make sure that they deliver good member outcomes. That's what we are looking at. So on one hand, we want to make sure people save consistently. On the other hand, we want to make sure that trustees make very good decisions. Those who are running NSSF, those who are running the other private schemes must ensure that they are very efficient, because at the end of the day, we are looking at member outcomes. More often than not, we see in the papers, you know, they say now the sector is about 21 trillion. But at UBRA, we look at it within the context of a member. How much, in line with what you said earlier, how much
interest there?
Yes. How much do members have if you are to pay them today? It's 21 trillion, all right. But if you are to pay, how much do people go with? And that helps us to see how best we can strategize and make all these schemes efficient to make sure that we get the best possible outcome for members.
Now, I have a very interesting question here for you, and this is from a professor who is watching, Dr. Ivan Mukisa. He says, ask that gentleman. The recommended replacement ratio is 70% of one's pre-retirement income.
Yes.
Is that achievable in Uganda? Now you're the people, you understand this better.
Yes, at the moment, the way the numbers are, it's not achievable because people do not...
Maybe also help my viewer understand, when you talk about 70% of one's pre-retirement.
Yes.
This mathematics, I want to believe you're as good as me when it comes to mathematics in school. So try to break that.
So what that means in simple terms is that assuming you're earning 1 million per month, and assuming, let's just assume that you'll earn it for the next 40 years. Just an assumption. Of course, there may be changes as you go along, up the upward side. So we expect that when you reach 60 years, you should be able to have 700,000 every month at the minimum to be able to maintain your standard of living. So the moment you cannot do that, then we can say you have a very low replacement rate. So at the moment we see we are around 25% replacement. So people who are saving would be having around, those who have a lot would be having about 25% of what they are earning now. So we are far below the replacement ratio of 70%. It's of concern to us. That's why we are saying that we must make sure that we together deal with the issue of adequacy. Adequacy relates to ensuring that whatever we do from the time we start saving to the time we get the benefits paid, we do it in such a manner that we are efficient, we are consistent in the way we are saving, to make sure that there are no leakages. That's why we have reservations about people accessing money through midterm access if there is no exceptional circumstance. We want to make sure that you keep the money there, you relax, you save, because it's just 15%. But if it is there, then you can invest it for much longer time, and then you get good outcomes at the end.
So I can't forget the excitement when people heard, and those that were pushing for midterm benefits, when NSSF finally came out and said, we are now okay, and a number of people actually have gotten their midterm. And the big question is how you invest that. Because at the end of it, it's your money. But to me, even midterm befits the whole issue. But well, when someone knows there is some money somewhere they can get, they always get it. How they invest it, it is their choice. But I love the fact that you said one would rather leave that money, accumulate, and have something better to invest wider. Though one told me life starts at 40. So when you get 45, there life is starting. When you get that mid-term.
It's true. That is really true. But of course, the main reservation about midterm access, it came at a time of COVID. And true, there was distress, liquidity distress, people in hospitals. But ultimately, when you look at how people accessed it afterwards, they were not really accessing it for exceptional circumstances. And when you mentioned about the balances being low, so 20% for most is insignificant. There's not much. It's 2 million, 3 million. There's not much it can do. You'd rather keep it there, but also make efforts to make additional contributions. Because we have people who are contributing to the NSSF, then they are making voluntary contributions to voluntary schemes that we have licensed. The main idea is that we must make sure that we build the nest egg that allows us to live decently. Because our research has shown that many Ugandans who are above 60 are struggling to survive, to meet the basics. Healthcare and wellness are a very big challenge. So they are always at hospitals, the bills are high, because old age comes with the contingencies for health. So you need money, you need the liquidity to expense and be able to manage those emergencies. So that's why we are saying that as much as we have needs, if we can make an effort to make those savings and keep the savings there, there is a case for you to have a decent life. And that's the reason why we are saying there should be no leakages, money should be preserved, and then whatever you save at the end should allow to give you a relatively decent lifestyle in the end.
Well, you can be part of the topic of discussion this morning by simply going on our various social media platforms. We have our WhatsApp number. It is going to be popping up on your screen. Please use that to send me a text message or a WhatsApp message. And Benjamin here will be responding. 64 saving schemes. Most people know is the NSSF. But there are others that are supervised, that are regulated by the Uganda, by UBRA. Let me use that.
Yes.
And this is where my guest is coming from this morning. I need to hear from you. We need to get your views and your comments on this. Now, let's look at a very important group, the youth and women. When it comes to this, how are they embracing it? How are they perceiving it? For a youth telling them save, you know, with many of these, even when they see these deductions, some of them don't understand them. Some of them feel like, but will I really get this money and all that?
Yes, the youth, you know, youth comes with a lot of ambition, but at the same time, you think you have a lot of time. So, as I mentioned earlier, the biggest percentage of our youth are also in the workforce that is not in the formal sector. And it's a big challenge to get them to save for retirement. And that's why at UBRA, we're championing the setup of a national long-term savings scheme, which is supposed to target the youth and the women in the workforce that are not formally employed. The main idea is that you need a scheme that is flexible, that is accessible to everybody, wherever you are, all over the country and beyond. You should be able to have an arrangement that allows you to save. So the youth are difficult to get, and we want to make sure that we have a scheme that responds to the environment in which they work, the normative aspects, the labor markets, and also the culture. So part of the proposals we have are to look at what it is we can do using technology, using an incentive framework, because we have proven that when there's an incentive framework, when you use technology and when you have trust, then you can be able to get them on board. The same applies to women. Women are excluded largely because about 70% of the 3 million membership I mentioned to you is men. So the 30% is the women. So the women are also excluded because they largely operate from the informal sector, the non-standard work that I talked about. So at UBRA, we think that what we are proposing for the National Long-Term Savings Scheme will bring women on board, and women actually live longer than men. And if you look at the life expectancy at retirement of about 18 to 20 years, it means, therefore, that we must make sure that those who live longer and the youth must start early, and those who live longer, the ladies, must be brought on board to make sure that we don't have the challenge of old age poverty. Already, as you may be aware, we have the social assistance grants that government is giving, where you are giving 25 per month. Government, people appreciate it.
Now the good thing is when it comes in quarterly, it's about 75,000.
Yeah.
But don't take me that wrong.
No, it's a good thing, really, because it makes a difference. But our argument is that if we get Ugandans to start early, the young, we can get those nominal savings, invest them, and people will get much higher than the 75 on their own. So that's why we are proposing the National Long-Term Savings Scheme. We are excited about the feasibility we've conducted. We have proven that it can work, even as long as you start early. The only thing is that it must be government-led, and we think that we must leverage on technology such that we get Ugandans wherever they are, those who are working in Dubai, in Saudi Arabia, those who are working across the region. We want to make sure we tap into technology, and we have proposed a framework that will allow everybody to contribute using technology. All we need is an incentive framework, because it's not easy to get the young ones to save if there's no incentive framework. Because where it has worked, there's an incentive framework, like co-contributions. You say if you contribute 10, maybe 10,000, maybe government will give you 5,000. And we take it maybe for the first 5 years. The moment the culture is built as an asset, then people will contribute on their own. Yeah.
Now, also, when we talk about the various retirement benefit schemes, the pension scheme, the NSSF, mention any of the 64. The issue of trust and belief that I'll get what I'm saving today remains a very big challenge, both in the mindset and sometimes practically. As UBRA, where do you come in to build, to ensure that really there's not only the confidence, but actual receiving of this money? I want to mention NSSF. I want to credit them. There's been so much improvement because decades back or two, it was more, maybe a camel would pass in the eye of a needle. But today, you clock, you have your paperwork, you have monthly updates of what you have there and all that. They have done a tremendous job, I must commend them. But for the other, I'm not very sure of what happens there. So this is a big challenge, that when you tell the youth, when you bring all these initiatives, and sometimes also the media and managers sometimes there are those scandalous, scaring stories that hinder the drive for someone to save.
Yes, at UBRA, you mentioned the 65 schemes, the voluntary schemes, because we have a number of schemes. We have other mandatory, like the one of Makerere University. Why UBRA was created is to build the trust. So we have set up capabilities that will ensure, and already are ensuring, the other schemes that, like the Makerere scheme, the Bank of Uganda scheme, they're doing very well, largely because the setup that we have provided allows accountability for decisions that are made, and also the continuous monitoring that we undertake, including NSSF. Even the improvements you see with NSSF are because there is a regulator that is vigilant, that is asking the tough questions. You know, regulators don't come out to talk about what they have done all the time. But we are in the background. We are interrogating all these. We get accounts from them. We get all those statutory returns to see what's happening on a continuous basis. So the improvements you see, and more that there is to come, including NSSF, because the regulator is there. We supervise, we regulate, and we demand for accountability from those persons that are making the tough decisions on a day-to-day basis. So you will notice since UBRA was established, I think we've recovered about 135 billion, where we force or we require trustees to refund the money if we think it's not contributing to member outcomes. If it is wasteful expenditure, then we require trustees to pay back that money. But the nature of our business, just like you see other regulators, is that the moment we give a supervisory directive and you respond, we are good with you. So we wouldn't come in the media to say that we've forced scheme A to return money, because that can undermine trust. But we see that there are significant improvements in disclosure. We have better disclosure, we have better accountability, and that's why you see that the membership is improving, the numbers are growing, and people are starting to ask tough questions because they see the information at their AGMs, the NSSF and the other schemes, and they ask trustees to explain why they made certain decisions. So that's all the work of UBRA, because we require them to give members information, to prepare accounts, and share all this information with us and all other stakeholders.
Well, let me look at some of the messages. I'll just look at 2 or 3. This is Feni from Arua City. I just want to appreciate you for the program. Thank you so much. Well, Feni, thank you so much for being part of the program. Now, good morning, Uganda. I have been working for a logistic company for over 9 years and no National Social Security Fund saving. And when I pushed for my NSSF, I ended up losing my job. How can I be helped? Well,
well, I think that's a question of employer compliance. That is Feni, you said. I think Feni's employer did not comply with the requirement. And I think that's where the problems came in. Because the way I understand, he says that they were not contributing to the NSSF. And we have a complaints desk. Ideally, all entities must register at the moment. With the amendment, they must register with the NSSF. Before, probably, he says 9 years. You know, we got the amendment just around COVID time, about 2 to 3 years ago. Originally, there was eligibility of about up to 5 workers. So I don't know, maybe if there were just 2 of them in the company, in the logistics company. It's probably that's why the employer was not complying or contributing. If there are more than 5, then that company should have made that contribution. So if he has a legitimate complaint about non-compliance by an employer, in line with the provisions then of at least 5, then you must make contributions to the NSSF. Then that one is something that he can bring up to our complaints desk. And the important thing is to give us the information. We assess the information, then we can advise. Because normally we get these complaints and you realize that sometimes you're just 2 of you. And at the time, the employer was not required to make that contribution. But if it is legit and he has the information that can allow us to make decisions and to get that company to make those payments, then he can come to UBRA or he can go to our website. We have a complaints portal. Let him upload all that information that we need to support. But I just want to admit that employer compliance is low. There are so many employers that skirt around the contracts and they do not give contracts that can lead you to mandatory contributions. So the nature of employment that he had was working per day and go away, things like that can undermine your ability to make those contributions or to get the employer to make that contribution.
Now, something big is coming up. Your UBRA is going to be hosting the Africa Pension Supervisors Association Conference in Kampala. Now, what should Ugandans expect out of this?
Yes, UBRA is lucky to host the 4th Africa Pension Supervisors Conference, commonly referred to as APSA. What APSA is that you have continental supervisors like UBRA who come together to discuss some of the issues we are discussing now as they relate to coverage, to employer compliance, to pension inclusion. And this year our theme is going to be about pension inclusion, to make sure that we bring all our citizens of the continent on board, the women, the youth, the labor force. We want to make sure that whoever is working and transacting makes a contribution for their retirement beyond just formal sector workers. So we are going to, between 27th and 28th, we are going to have Africa Pension Supervisors in Uganda, hosted at Serena, and we are going to discuss all these matters. The main goal is to ensure that we increase pension inclusion, we get more people to save for retirement, to prepare for old age. Ultimately, we want to see that we learn from each other, we draw from experiences. There are countries that have moved ahead of us in terms of bringing informal sector workers on board, like Rwanda, like Nigeria. They are all going to be here. We are going to share the experiences. Then we draw lessons, and ultimately, at the end, we hope that we can have a basis to make a case for much needed policy reforms that can help many Ugandans to save for retirement.
Well, I want to thank you so much, Benjamin, for your time. And above all, our viewer, thank you so much for being with us from 6:30 till now, and those that have joined along the way. Not forgetting to remind you that we will soon be bringing something very new to your eyes in Good Morning Uganda. So please ensure that you do not miss as we unveil this new thing for you. There's so much to learn, yet very interesting. You can't miss our new product. Have a lovely day. Ruben is here to take you through the world of sports. Good morning.
Live from UBC Studios in Kampala, this is Good Morning Uganda.
Foundation's 2023 Gala Dinner with the theme Feeding the Hungry and Deprived Children, happening on the 25th of November 2023 at Sheraton Hotel. Tickets are 100K for single and 1 million for a table. You can also come with things to donate like clothes, shoes, and others. For more info, please contact 0774 508202 or 0753 055437 or 0704 499543 and Momo Pay 198377.